The lights are fading. The stadium is quiet. You are drifting into a state of perfect, restorative silence. Your heart rate slows. Your breathing rhythms stabilize. The game is over, and the recovery begins. Then, without warning, the floor vanishes. Your body convulses in a violent, involuntary spasm. Your heart hammers against your ribs like a trapped bird. You aren't in bed anymore. You are falling through an endless, dark void. Why does the brain sabotage its own victory? This is the hypnic jerk. In the world of clinical neurology, it is a myoclonic twitch. In the world of your bedroom at 2 a.m., it is a terrifying betrayal of the senses. You were seconds away from the deep, regenerative sleep that every human body craves. Yet your nervous system decided to pull the fire alarm. It is a glitch in the most sophisticated biological computer on the planet. To understand why this happens, we have to look at the human body not as a single entity, but as a complex organization with competing departments. Imagine the brain as a massive sports federation. It has various committees, security protocols, and a rigorous hierarchy. When you prepare for sleep, the executive committee issues a stand-down order. The lights in the arena are supposed to go out in a controlled sequence. But sometimes, the communication lines get crossed. A rogue signal is sent. The security team thinks there's an intruder. They react with maximum force. We have all felt it. That sudden electric jolt that makes your legs kick out or your arms flail. It is often accompanied by a vivid sensory hallucination, a trip on a curb, a missed step on a ladder, or a literal fall from a great height. It's a momentary loss of control that feels like a total system failure. But this isn't a random error. This is a specific, documented phenomenon that affects up to 70% of the population. It is a mystery that sits at the intersection of evolutionary history and modern physiological stress. To solve this mystery, we have to investigate the stadium itself. We have to look at the transition phase known as hypnagogia. This is the no man's land between wakefulness and sleep. It is a period where the rules of reality begin to soften. The brain is trying to hand over the keys to the night shift, but the night shift isn't ready to take them. This is where the controlled collapse begins. It is a high-stakes transition, where the smallest error in timing can lead to a violent physical outburst. We are looking for the why. We are looking for the reason the brain decides to hit the panic button right when it should be most at peace. The human brain does not simply turn off. It is a battleground. Within the neural architecture, there is a constant power struggle between two primary factions. On one side, we have the Reticular Activating System, or the RAS. This is the hype man. It is the system responsible for arousal, alertness, and keeping the lights on. It's the engine that keeps you focused during a high-stakes match or a long day at the office. On the other side, we have the Ventrolateral Preoptic Nucleus, the VILPO. This is the groundskeeper. Its job is to dampen the noise, lower the temperature, and force the body into a state of rest. These two systems are in a perpetual tug-of-war. For you to fall asleep, the VLUDPO must successfully suppress the RAS. It's a hostile takeover that happens every single night. But sometimes, the takeover is messy. As the VLUDPO begins to flood the system with inhibitory neurotransmitters, the RAS doesn't always go quietly. It's like a manager refusing to leave the dugout after being sacked. As your muscles begin to relax and your consciousness drifts, the RAS might fire one last, desperate signal. It's a check-in to see if the body is still responsive. When this happens, the brain misinterprets the sudden relaxation of the muscles. As the muscle tone drops, a process called atonia, the brain's internal equilibrium sensors, the vestibular system, get confused. It's a data error. The brain receives a signal that the muscles are limp, but it hasn't quite registered that this is because of sleep. It interprets the lack of resistance as a literal free fall. The brain, acting as a frantic security guard, panics. It assumes you are falling through space. To save you, it sends a massive burst of electrical activity to the motor cortex. It's an emergency correction. The result is the jerk. Your body twitches violently to catch itself from a fall that isn't happening. This is the proof of the system's fragility. We see this more frequently in people who are over-leveraged. If you are running on too much caffeine, the RAS is artificially fortified. It's harder for the vulpo to shut it down. If you are stressed, your stadium security is on high alert, looking for threats that don't exist. The proof is in the chemistry. Adenosine, the molecule that builds up in your brain throughout the day to signal sleepiness, is being blocked by stimulants. The brain is tired, but the chemicals are screaming that the game is still on. When the body finally forces a shutdown, it's not a smooth transition. It's a crash. And in that crash, the sensors fail. The brain's internal gyroscope malfunctions. It's a biological false positive. The system is so focused on survival that it would rather wake you up in a panic than risk you actually falling. It is an ancient, hardwired insurance policy that has never been updated for the modern world. To truly understand the deep dive into this phenomenon, we have to look back further than modern biology. We have to look at the legacy contract written into our DNA. There is a powerful theory in evolutionary psychology that suggests the hypnic jerk is a vestigial reflex from our time in the trees. Millions of years ago, our ancestors didn't sleep in climate-controlled bedrooms with memory foam mattresses. They slept in the forest canopy. They slept on branches. In that environment, falling wasn't just a dream, it was a death sentence. If you relaxed too much, you lost your grip. If you lost your grip, you fell into the jaws of a predator or hit the ground with terminal force. The Arboreal Hypothesis suggests that the hypnic jerk was a vital safety mechanism. As an early primate began to drift off, if their muscle tone dropped too quickly, or they shifted off balance, the brain would trigger a violent twitch to snap them back to consciousness so they could readjust their grip. It was a literal lifesaver. Even though we now sleep in the safety of four walls, the software hasn't been rewritten. The brain still treats the sensation of muscle relaxation as a potential fall from a branch. We are modern humans, living with the security protocols of a prehistoric primate. But there is more to it than just the tree theory. We have to look at the financials of the brain, the energy expenditure. Sleep is an expensive process for the body. It requires a massive reallocation of resources. During the transition into REM sleep, the brain actually becomes more active in certain areas. It begins the process of memory consolidation and toxin removal. This transition is guarded by sleep spindles, bursts of brain activity that help the brain remain in a tranquil state despite external noise. Think of these as the stewards of the stadium. They manage the crowd. But when the system is stressed, these stewards are overwhelmed. This wasn't a series of isolated mistakes. It was exactly how the system was designed to work. The revelation is that the hypnic jerk isn't a sign that something is broken. It's a sign that the system is working too well. It is an overeager defense mechanism. The brain would rather ruin your sleep 10 times a night than let you fall once. But why does it happen more to some than others? This is where the investigation turns to the external factors. If the brain is the stadium, then our lifestyle is the management. If the management is poor, the stadium falls into disrepair. High levels of anxiety, excessive caffeine intake, and irregular sleep schedules are like bad owners of a football club. They demand performance without providing the necessary infrastructure. When you are chronically sleep-deprived, your brain enters sleep more rapidly than usual. This rapid onset bypasses the normal, gradual steps of the transition. When you skip the steps, the handover between the RAS and the vulpo becomes chaotic. It's a rushed job. The sensors don't have time to calibrate. The brain realizes it's losing consciousness too fast, panics, and fires the jerk. It's a desperate attempt to regain control of a situation that is moving too quickly for the biological referees to handle. We also have to consider the sensory incorporation aspect. Why do we dream of falling right as we twitch? This is the brain's narrative department at work. The brain is an expert at filling in the blanks. When the motor cortex fires that emergency signal, the dreaming mind has to make sense of it. It creates a split-second story, a missed step, a cliff edge, a stumble, to explain why the body just moved that way. The dream doesn't cause the jerk causes the dream. It's a post hoc justification for a biological error. The stadium isn't haunted, it's just old. The wiring is ancient, the protocols are outdated, and the fans, our muscles, are just reacting to the signals they're given. The wider implication of the hypnic jerk is a damning indictment of our modern league table of health. We live in a society that views sleep as a luxury rather than a fundamental right. We have broken the contract with our own biology. The always-on culture is the primary driver of these neurological glitches. When we look at the data, the frequency of sleep disturbances, including hypnic jerks, has skyrocketed in the digital age. Blue light from screens interferes with melatonin production, the general manager of the sleep cycle. This keeps the RAS in a state of artificial arousal, long after it should have been decommissioned for the night. We are forcing our brains to operate in a state of constant overtime. When the brain is forced to work 80-hour weeks without a break, the security protocols become twitchy. The referees become irritable. They start making bad calls. The hypnic jerk is a check engine light for the human soul. It is a physical manifestation of internal friction. It tells us that the transition from the high-performance world of wakefulness to the recovery world of sleep is being handled poorly. Consider the cost of the game. When we ignore these signals, we aren't just losing a few seconds of rest. We are degrading the entire system. Chronic stress leads to a hyperactive nervous system. This creates a feedback loop. You are stressed, so you twitch. You twitch, so you fear sleep. You fear sleep, so you become more stressed. The governing bodies of our health, the medical institutions, often dismiss the hypnic jerk as benign, and physically it is. It won't kill you. But narratively, it is a symptom of a deeper, institutional failure. It is the sound of a system under too much pressure. We have built a world that is incompatible with our legacy software. We are primates, trying to sleep in a world of neon lights and 24-hour news cycles. The jerk is the friction between who we are and how we live. It is the controlled collapse failing to be controlled. When the brain sends that jolt through your limbs, it is a reminder of our vulnerability. It is a reminder that despite our skyscrapers, our technology, and our complex social structures, we are still animals. We are still afraid of the dark. We are still afraid of falling. The power flows of the modern world have pushed us to the edge of the branch, and our brains are screaming at us to wake up before we hit the ground. The stadium is finally dark. The security breach has passed. You lie there, your heart slowly returning to a normal rhythm, the phantom cliff edge fading from your mind. The hypnic jerk is a bizarre, violent, and deeply human experience. It is the moment where our evolutionary past and our stressful present collide in a single electric spasm. It is a reminder that we are never truly off. Even in the deepest silence of the night, the committees in our head are still debating, still watching, still trying to protect us from threats that vanished 10,000 years ago. We are the architects of our own unrest, building lives that our ancient brains can barely comprehend. The jerk isn't a flaw, it's a legacy. It's a security update that never quite took. As you drift off again, hoping for a smoother transition this time, remember the groundskeeper and the hype man. They are still there, locked in their eternal struggle for control. The floor is solid. The branch is gone. But the brain doesn't know that. It's just trying to keep you in the game. Sleep is the only trophy that matters. The lights are dimming again. Don't look down.